So I'm rather excited about this because in the immensely long time I've been writing about wine, 40 years, I have yet to do a proper comparison of champagne aged in bottle versus the same wine aged in Magnum. And I think this tasting on October the 8th is going to be absolutely fascinating to see the results. Now this is just a little taster, so to speak. I have been poured a glass from the Krug 98 bottle and the Krug 98 Magnum, and I don't know which is which. So I will just describe what I find. It's easy to convince yourself that the one on... they've been marked with a square and a triangle. And I think the wine in the square, the glass marked with a square, is very slightly darker than the one in the triangle. But it's tiny, tiny, tiny. And of course I'm tending to exaggerate the differences. So now I'm going to nose the glass that's marked with a triangle. Gosh, that's very, very different from your average common or garden champagne, this. What is it? 17 years old. Very rich nose, this. Lots and lots of development. Kind of that, in that sort of brioche line. You'd be amazed if someone told you that wine was a Blanc de Blanc, 100% Chardonnay. Now let's see the other one. This is the glass marked with a square. That seems less obviously expressive, less, seems tighter. It seems more savoury. And I suppose I would say on the nose, it seems more youthful, which might suggest it's the Magnum, but who knows? Wine is always trumps us. I'll taste them in the other order though, because it can often happen that one wine influences the other. So, neutralise my nose. That seems very racy. The acidity is quite marked, very, very refreshing. Rather, I know we're not supposed to use the word mineral, but it is quite more on the mineral side. Let's see this one, the triangle one. The difference is less marked when you taste square glass first. This is more savoury than when I first tasted it, but it still seems richer than the square glass. And slightly less expressive than on the very first noseful. So I'm going to taste glass marked with a square, which was the one that seemed more youthful on the nose. Really very majestic wine, very majestic. Bone dry finish, tingle, tingle, tingle. Very, very bracing with a sort of slight edge of toastiness to it. Absolutely no, when I think of tasting young, very young champagne and sparkling wine, so often you're very aware of a dosage, but you certainly aren't on that wine. A certain smokiness now on the triangle glass. But it does seem, triangle glass on the palate as well as on the nose, does seem to have more evolution, to be less reserved, broader in the mouth, and it could be storage conditions, I don't know, but if I had to bet, I would bet that the triangle one is the wine in the bottle because it seems more evolved. They're both magnificent wines though, and I think that we're in for a great treat, whatever conclusions we come up with after we've tasted this fantastic array of wines. And it turns out that the glass marked with a square containing the wine that really tasted much more youthful and lively and taut, which I therefore assumed was the Magnum, actually contains the Krug 98 from bottle, which was disgorged way back in October '07. Whereas the broad, alluring, lovely wine for drinking now, I thought, was the Krug 98 in Magnum that was disgorged much more recently in spring 2010. So we've clearly got lots and lots to discover when we taste all these pairs to see what the effects of aging in both bottle and Magnum are, and to see the different influences of different disgorgement dates. I can see that we'll probably be at 67 Pall Mall for many hours, into the early hours of October the 9th perhaps, discussing all these different factors. But what pleasure there's going to be if these two wines are anything to judge by, because both of them are absolutely stunning, and as you can see, we'll be tasting nothing but the creme de la creme.